Namaste. Welcome to Bharat Vichar. Today we are again joined by Major General Harsha Kakar. And General Kakar, thank you for coming on Bharat Vichar, sir.
My pleasure.
Sir, I had prepared a few questions, but there has been some recent developments, and you had also sent out a tweet retweeting Air Marshal Chopra's tweet that some new development has taken place. However, the first question that I want to ask you is that for 10 years, Panjshir Valley withstood the attack by Soviet Union. They used fighters and bombers, but yet they were not able to conquer. But for the first time, and now it is evident that without the Pakistani army and air force support, Taliban would have not been able to breach Panjshir Valley and capture Panjshir Valley. So what changed this time around, sir?
Firstly, it's a claim that they've taken over Panjshir Valley. Now, Panjshir Valley is a valley in which you enter. You've got hills on both sides. The Northern Alliance is dominating the features. Right? You enter the valley, fine. But unless you take the features, you're a sitting duck. The features have not been taken. Neither by the Taliban nor by the Pak forces, because to attack those features and capture them, you need massive force level. So what you've done is you entered the valley. Fine, that's a road. You've been able to breach and enter the valley. But unless you take the features, you haven't captured Panjshir, which is why there is that story of claim versus claim versus claim. Right? So that is the difference which is actually existing between truth and reality. So you cannot say that Panjshir Valley is captured. You entered the valley, but you haven't taken the hills that are dominating the valley. So what are you doing?
So it's a case of information warfare.
It's a case of information warfare. It's a case of misunderstanding reality. In any case, so in any aspect of mountain warfare, you have to capture the heights, which was the fact with Kargil. Unless we took the heights of Kargil, they were dominating the valley. So any movement of yours could be impacted. This is the same as the state now with the Northern Alliance sitting on the heights. You've only entered the valley, but you haven't taken the heights, so you're not secure.
Well, sir, that's quite reassuring. Now, sir, coming back to the tweet sent by Air Marshal Chopra, and you had also retweeted, it seems that Tajikistan has sent out certain support to.
You have to, okay, now when you talk of Pakistan sending out support, you've got to understand the reality. As for Air Marshal Chopra's tweet, these were the aircraft from the Afghan forces which had landed in Tajikistan.
Yeah.
The fact that Tajikistan permitted them to attack the Taliban is an indirect form of support by Tajikistan. How strong is the support? At the moment, we cannot. So you've got to realize that the people who are fighting of the Northern Alliance are Tajiks. So therefore, it is bound to be a support to a community which belongs to your nation. Right? But the fact that these took off from Tajikistan and they landed back in Tajikistan implies some form of support. So you're getting something from the Tajiks there. You've got the Pak forces. There are reports of the Pak SSG battalions, which are the commando battalions.
Yep.
There are reports of the Pak drones being involved. There are some reports of possibly Pak aircraft, helicopter gunships being involved. Now the question is, it is almost a proxy war between the proxies of Tajikistan and the proxies of Pakistan. In one case, it's an indirect support. In one case, it's a direct support. So what are you actually witnessing is something which happened possibly in Syria, which is happening in Libya, where you got proxies of different nations which are involved in fighting. How will it play out? It's difficult to say as of now. But definitely, it is now becoming a proxy war.
Hearing in the media in different forms.
There seems to be some technical problems, sir, today. I don't even know if people would be able to hear your voice and my voice. I apologize. Anyway, hoping that everything goes according to plan. So, without Russian approval, I don't think Tajikistan would have supported this initiative by uh, Northern Alliance fighters to fly from their airbase. So, do you think that is a plausible, uh, argument one can make?
See, the question today is we're all guessing. None of us know exactly whether it was official support, backup support, whether Russia supported the Tajik discussion. But the fact is that Tajikistan is a satellite state. But then at the same time, you've got to realize that these are Tajiks who are part of the Northern Alliance or who led the Northern Alliance. So the question comes that if the state has determined on its own, Russia may have had no choice but to back it because after all, Tajiks are involved. The question is, did Russia suggest the thought? Nobody knows. Possibly with passage of time, the way discussions move, the way the global talks go and the way things move, the reality will come. But as of now, to begin assuming may be a little bit early.
So Pakistan used its drones for the first time in a combat situation, giving it a lot of operational experience. Now, India won't be a pushover, if I may say so, in a very lightly, if such situation arises. But how do you think, as someone senior officer like you who has been part of planning, would view this of Pakistan using the drones extensively to attack the targets in Panjshir and gaining a lot of operational experience?
See, these drones have recently come from China. And when new equipment comes, the people who are responsible for manning that equipment undergo training. There is no doubt. The question is, Pakistan knows its weakness. It knows that anything with India will get rebounded. We've got to realize that for any nation to go into war, you need substantial oil reserves, you need substantial ammunition reserves, you need a lot. And for that, you need to be financially secure. If you're not in that state, you cannot manage. Right? You may gain the experience, but then you've got to realize that there, after all, at the end of the day, whether we use drones, whether we're getting them, whether we use aircraft or rockets, they're going to be hit even worse. So they've got to realize it, and I don't think getting the experience here is going to do them any major good. Because the fact is that when you're operating in an area like that, you don't have any air defense. You've got no radars, you've got nothing. Okay, it's a free-for-all zone because Afghanistan currently, whatever equipment it has is lying defunct. So when you operate in such an environment, it doesn't give you experience, it makes you more lax and makes you easy because you've operated in an environment where there is nothing to constrict you. Whereas when you come in an environment which is constricting, in which you can be countered, you automatically find that you have to change your method of operation. You've got to change your strategy. By just flying them, we've been flying head-on for decades. So we've got that experience. The question is only of launch. Right? They've also been flying drones for some time. The question is, if you're using it in an environment where there is no constriction, it's a different scenario altogether.
Sir, many people in India are seeing the Taliban's victory as a bugle to come to Kashmir. This is not 1994 Kashmir. You had made it abundantly clear last time when we spoke, sir. But a lot of people are saying that Pakistan took advantage of the ceasefire that was initiated a few months back at the LOC, and that's why they were able to now concentrate on their Durand line, which is a very important artery of Pakistan, and were able to support the Taliban. So they say that hope for the best and plan for the worst. So again, what would our planners be doing right now without giving out any information, because you must still be privy to certain information and you are bound by the Official Secrets Act. But without that, sir, how much concern we should be right now? if you can give a general answer, sir.
See, firstly, I am not privy to anything that's going on. I'm way out of touch because I don't deal with them anymore. Right? Whatever I do and think and I speak is my own views. The fact is, a ceasefire helps the local population who reside along the border on both sides, and we are concerned about our side. As far as Pakistan is concerned, the thing, the Durand line problem will end in a short while they're looking at dreams, because no Pashtun part of any government in Afghanistan, including their proxies, the Haqqanis, are going to accept the Durand line. Pashtun community are seeking in the long term a Pashtun land which is independent from both Pakistan and Afghanistan. If they can't get it, the next option is to be a part of Afghanistan, because that is where the majority is. The Durand line is an artificial line created by the British, which has never, historically also never been acceptable to any Pashtun. Okay. So if they think that the Taliban is here and then sign on the dotted line, you've got to realize that Taliban 1.0 was more dependent on Pakistan than Taliban 2.0 will be. They couldn't succeed with 1.0. 2.0 has objected to the border fencing on the Durand line. So there are going to be issues. With passage of time, the issues are going to build. The Taliban, the reason why the Pak army is now deployed along the Durand line is not because of the Taliban. It is deployed because of fear of power rising within the TTP of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which yesterday claimed that attack which took 4 frontier conscriptionary people and injured another 17 or 18. So they're not going to stop. Their power is going to continue. They're going to continue building upstream. They've sworn their allegiance to the Taliban. They have close relationships with the Haqqani. Neither of the two will control them. They have openly told the Pakistan government, it's your problem, you get into talks. Now, Pakistan has still been saying that it is India that is sponsoring the TTP, whereas the Taliban and the Haqqani have said it's not our problem, it's yours, we're not going to control them. As it is, the attacks that are happening in recent days, India is not there. We got zero presence in Afghanistan. Now, the worry within Pak is for 20 years, you accuse India. Now, today, are you going to talk to a proxy which you accused of being Indian? If you are not going to talk to them, they're going to keep attacking. And the PTP has made it clear, we want the Northwest Frontier Province tribal areas, we want to impose Sharia, and we want a separate state. That's it. Finished. How are you going to deal with them? Keep fighting. So their problems on the western front are not going to stop. The Durand line is going to get active. You've got to realize that the area of Pakistan, which is that northwestern front area, that is home. The madrasas from there have fed the Taliban, they fed the Haqqani, they fed the ISIS, and they fed the TTP. It is the same madrasa. They're feeding all. Now what do you do? How are you going to stop them?
I asked this question because I'm a lay person, and you have served in those areas and experienced real hand. Now, sir, there is also growing talks of factionalism within the Taliban conglomerate, if I may call them a conglomerate, or a group of warring tribes. Baitullah Masood, Mullah Baradar do not trust Haqqani, and the Pakistani army has come in to prop Haqqani and give them some plump portfolios. And now it's being said that Mullah Baradar wants some diplomacy, some normalcy, but Haqqani wants the perpetual jihad. So, sir, you have observed this, and you have also tweeted. What do you think about this growing rift? There was also shootout where allegedly Mullah Baradar also got shot, which is now been confirmed that he was not present at that meeting. But still, there was shooting between the two factions. How do you see this going through?
In any democracy, whenever there is a coalition government, there is a fight for key portfolios. There's a fight for powerful portfolios. Now, in an organization like the Taliban and the Haqqani, both have fought alongside. You fought alongside because you were compelled to fight alongside if you needed to keep your bases running in Pakistan. You formed a grouping to fight. You never formed a grouping to govern. Now, when it comes to sharing the spoils of Afghanistan, each side is looking at squeezing the maximum. They're not looking for the benefit of the Afghans. They're not looking for the benefit of, say, development in the country. They're not looking at that. They're looking at exploiting the spoils of war because they don't know how long they're going to remain. And there is a difference in ideology between them. The Taliban leadership, which has now been exposed to the global network, especially the Doha Group, are looking at international diplomacy, they're looking at development, they're looking at financial aid, they're looking at recognition. Haqqani is looking at control. Haqqani is looking at expanding its power base. It's looking at possibly looking beyond Afghanistan, but in a terrorism way or in a dominating manner. So there is going to be this clash. Now, the ISI chief landed up there, to try and resolve the clash. The clash is evident, disagreements are evident because thrice they postponed the announcement of the government. It has now been 3 weeks. They have not been able to announce any government. How can a country be sitting without anything? No governments, nothing open, nothing to survive on, no salaries. How is the country running? You just have the Taliban running all over the place trying to keep peace, or the Haqqani network running all over the place trying to keep peace. But how are you eating? How are you feeding? What are you managing? Iran is giving a little bit of oil. Pakistan cannot give anything. They don't even have food and oil for themselves. China will never put in money unless something is assured in return. But rather saying it, nobody knows. So ultimately, where do you stay? This is the problem that they are in. And differences in such cases are not going to be easy to resolve because the ideologies are different, the thought processes are different. How do you manage it?
Sir, second last question. Some people are saying that Pakistan wants civil war again in Afghanistan so that it can keep that part of the area busy in violence like it was from 1996 to 2001, because after 2001 the violence came inside Pakistan, and actually recently it also threatened Punjab, which basically controls Pakistan. So is Pakistan also trying to create a situation deliberately, because they seem to thrive under chaos? Whenever they are in some sort of trouble, economic trouble, they create a chaos where the global community comes in and pays them that, okay, let's try to end this chaos. They make money in chaos, sir. Your thoughts on that, sir?
We want to look at the moment, Pakistan is a client state of China. For China, chaos in Afghanistan leads to problems in China, prevents Chinese exploitation of Afghanistan, prevents China from expanding its Belt Road initiative, and adds to Pakistan's refugee problem, adds to the rise of TTP, Baluchis, and the rest of the lot. So now, Pakistan cannot afford to thrive on violence in Afghanistan like it would have earlier, because now it is China which is pushing Pakistan to try and get Afghanistan into some form of order so that they can come in. So will Pakistan do China's bidding, or will it look at its own options? It is now in a tough state.
Well, sir, lastly, when a soldier retires, they tend to become diplomats. Modi ji will be off to US, I think for the UN summit, and will be meeting Joe Biden. Now, if I may say that, use the term reading the tea leaves, how do you see, because now US is they are doing some calibration of their strategy to the Indo-Pacific, after getting out of Afghanistan. That's what all experts in this field are saying. So what do you think their conversation is going to be when Modi meets with Biden in Washington?
See, the conversation is going to be on 2-3 issues. One is Indo-US relations, expanding strategic cooperation, expanding investments, expanding defense ties. The other is going to be how do you handle an expansionist China. After all, the Quad exists, which is a common bonding between the two. The Quad has to go beyond just military, which is what they're looking at. How do you push it beyond military? How do you pull in members from ASEAN? How do you gain legitimacy in the region? Because without gaining legitimacy in Southeast Asia, the Quad will not be very effective. So what it needs most is legitimacy. And this legitimacy can possibly be provided by India and the US, the two strongest partners in the alliance, militarily strongest. So let's see what they discuss beyond that. Afghanistan is bound to come in on the cards. The fear of Afghanistan is the rise of ISIS, but then it's going to take a long time before Afghanistan can actually stabilize. And the way it's moving, I don't think it will happen for quite some time. Because so these groups have their own areas, they have their own power bases, they have their own control areas. Is the Taliban going to create an army to be able to handle them? Who's going to help them from? If Pakistan will help them from, then who's going to fund and train them? If Pakistan is going to do it, the more it gets involved, the more it gets sucked into Afghanistan.
But sir, there is a cost of training a bunch of highly radicalized individuals. They know how to fight, but if you give them specialized training, they become even more dangerous. So that could also prove to be a double-edged sword for Pakistan by training the Taliban and providing a military structure.
See, when you have mercenaries, he's trained for a different type of operation. A terrorist operation is hit and run. A terrorist operation is ambush. It is not the barrack room discipline that is needed for a regular force. To try and convert this terrorist into a barrack room disciplined guy is not easy. It's too time consuming. How many can you do? So the options there, you've now disbanded the Afghanistan National Defense Forces. You've disbanded the Afghanistan police. Throughout the Taliban 1.0 rule, you never had anything. Are you going to recreate? These are not easy questions. You need funding. You need a lot more. Who's going to do it? Are you going to have all these lakhs of people or the thousands of Taliban that you got roaming around free with their weapons doing what they want? So that country then will be something like a free-for-all nation where everyone and anyone has a weapon. Nobody is trained. Nobody is disciplined. So how does it run? So what is going to happen is it's going to be independent groups controlling independent regions with Kabul just about controlling a little bit of its own. Too much to wait and watch to see how it goes.
That is, you're absolutely right on that point, sir. And with that, General Kakar, I know that you are pressed for some time. So thank you for again coming on Bharat Vichar. I hope our conversation is recorded because there is a technical issue. I mean, I don't want people to hear only the sound of silence, and I hope they're able to hear your insightful observations that you have made, sir. General Kakar, thank you so much for making time for Bharat Vichar, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Bharat. Thanks, Siddhant. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Bye, sir.